first premiership ever.
And the umpire that day, Lou, was Jack McMurray Jr., and that incidentally was his 4th grand final. And what a day it was for everybody. It's a nice sunny day. I tell you what, those players were primed for the occasion.
Ted, as a player yourself for 4 years, you must have been terribly thrilled, not only for yourself, but for the rest of the team.
It was a magnificent thrill, the greatest thrill in my football career. You notice Charlie Sutton there, Lou. He went through with Donny Ross to open up the start in the first quarter. There's Peter Box there, just been put down. Hit him, Charlie.
Well, Charlie went after Lance Arnold that time. You see him number 10. There we see Jack Collins. He must have been a great full forward on that grand final.
He was a magnificent footballer right through his career. He equalled the grand final record that year, kicking 7 goals. And a great player, very on his day, unbeatable. You notice right, Ronnie McCarthy there. There's Ross again, and Dave Bryden, a great ruckman, with Collins taking another sensational mark over Lance Arnold.
Well, Collins, of course, on that day created or equalled a league record by kicking 7 goals in the grand final. So that was another find. But you can see the crowd there, and of course the crowds over the years haven't changed, and the Bulldogs certainly must have captured the imagination of the Footscray supporters with that great win.
I think Footscray closed down. You notice going through very hard there is Kenny Melville, 38 for Melbourne. Now Stewie Spencer with Melbourne has the ball. Notice all the drop kicking and stab passing in this game, Lou. There goes Roger Duffy, a magnificent half-forward flanker, high flyer. Kicked a lot of goals for Footscray. That was a year that those players will never, ever forget. Their only premiership win. Peter Box, Brownlow medalist in 56. There goes Sutton again. Get in there and give it to him again. Onto his left boot, Charlie, and Collins, of course, putting Arnold into the crowd.
Well, they certainly played it with a tough feeling. Footscray, there's no doubt about that. Donny Ross again. He played a magnificent. I think he played in the centre that match.
He did. And Peter Box played a centre half forward.
And there we see number 4, Christie. But there's a player that we gave you at Collingwood. That's Harvey Stevens, I should say, in the ruck. And what a great year he had that season.
Roger Duffy kicking another goal there, but Harvey Stevens, Lou, finished 4th in the Brownlow medal in 54 to the eventual winner, Roy Wright. There's a quarter-time scores. Footscray 6-3-39 to Melbourne 1-4-10.
Well, that's how it went all day, Ted, because they were never headed Footscray, and they were too fast all day for the Demons. And, of course, I don't know whether you know this, but you'd know it, Ted. Possibly a lot of our viewers may not know this, but after being defeated by Footscray, the Demons went on to win 5 of the next 6 grand finals.
Yes, they did, and unfortunately, Footscray lost a lot of players after 54. They were cleared away to other clubs and to interstate and country, but it certainly was a great win.
And there's a good mark taken there again. I think that's by Ted Whitten himself. And, Ted, you look a little bit different to what you are today with a short back and side.
I think we all look a little bit different today, but I played on a guy called Jeff McGibbon, a very hard and tough footballer, but always had a lot of good battles with him. Peter Box from centre half forward again, putting the ball up into attack. But by G. Lou, they had some good players, Footscray. There's Herb Henderson there, number 25. Now, this is a guy that kept John Coleman, the great John Coleman, down to 4 goals each time he played on him. And Johnny Kerr was a great... There goes Dougie Reynolds now. Look at this fella go.
I think they speeded up the camera for Dougie there. And we see Charlie Sutton, my old opponent there, kick a goal. And, of course...
You know how tough he was.
Well, Charlie was an inspiring leader. We see the centre bounce. There's a very famous number 1 for Melbourne there, Dennis Cordner, who turned out to be one of the best ruckmen the league's ever seen, Ted.
He was a great player, an unorthodox kick of the ball, but he certainly knew how to handle that big knock away from the centre. Ron McCarthy again onto his left boot, being chased by Barassi. Down there is Christie in the goal square for Melbourne. And Footscray get another point on the board. There goes Reynolds there, and Case of Melbourne chasing with Ralph Lane, who is now a member of the Victorian Football League executive and doing a great job. Alan Martin, a half-back flanker, number 19, going in there for the ball for Footscray, with Wally Donnell helping out. And, of course, Albiston, number 6 of Melbourne. Half-time scores, you can see there. Is that the half-time scores?
That is, Ted, the half-time scores. And incidentally, Melbourne did have an excuse, Ted, because they claimed they had 5 of their star players out in Peter Marquis, Mackenzie, Trevor Johnson, Laidlaw and Ridley.
Don't make excuses. That was our year. That was a Bulldogs year in 54. Sutton had us primed, and we were ready to take on anybody that year, and that's how it finished. We doubled the score, and you notice this kick of Ron Stockman's here right now. He's only 25 metres out.
And Ron Stockman's the sort of bloke, when he used to go back for his kick, he used to yell out to his teammates, spread out. There's Stockman's style. It's magnificent. Now look at that for a kick.
He did go for a short pass, I know, on that occasion, but Harvey Stevens was a bit slow out of the box. There goes Stewie Spencer.
And what a great player he turned out to be.
Come over from Tasmania, a magnificent footballer. Harvey Stevens showing pace here.
Ted, did Peter Box he didn't win his Brownlow medal that year, did he?
No, he won the Brownlow medal in 56. Incidentally, there goes Jeff Collins, number 8 for Melbourne. He was the captain of the Demons in that year. He won it in 56, Lou, and Don Ross won Footscray's best and fairest the year he won the medal.
And the best player on the ground in this grand final is my old sparring partner again,
He was
Charlie Sutton.
The late Brian Gilmore,
yes.
too. Lou played a great game that year.
Back in the centre again, you see Cordner going for the knockout, and once again he won that one, but Harvey Stevens certainly gave him plenty to work on all day because he was a very good player. My golly, Charlie Sutton, as old as he was in those days, is playing pretty well, Ted.
He did well. He sat in the forward pocket alongside Jack Collins, having an occasional run on the ball, and he certainly made his presence felt. There's another great mark by Jack Collins right on the goal line. Now, you watch when Jack kicks this ball. It's a great shot for young footballers today. The legs straight, the taut instep, as we have all heard about. Now, just watch this, the taut instep of the leg. Didn't have time to see it.
That's right, but incidentally, if you look at Jack Collins in that picture before,
beautiful,
he's certainly changed in stature, hasn't he?
Haven't we all? There goes a knock from the centre once more. Peter Box involved, and going through hard, Ron Stockman once more. It says Charlie once more, going through hard McGibbon, and Charlie looking for a free kick and getting it from Jack McMurray.
Well, Charlie had this had the happy knack of umpiring. He used to bluff the umpires, and I think Jack McMurray, as Ted said before, umpiring his fourth grand final, three-quarter time scores. He could bluff anyone, Charlie. He was very good at doing that. Incidentally, Ted, it was the 8th time Footscray had made the finals, and they were the first of the new association clubs to win a flag.
Yeah, it was a magnificent thrill for all concerned. In 51, when I started, Charlie had just taken over as coach, and we made the finals against Essendon, but that was the finish of it. We went out in the first semi, but 54, he'd built up. He had some good young players there, and in 54, they all come to fruition, and they won the flag for him. And by gee, he was a pretty proud man that day, Charlie. There's young McLean, the late Ian McLean, who played for Melbourne on the wing, being chased by Ronnie McCarthy. And, of course, going in hard once more down there is Albiston of Melbourne, doing a bit of a weave from Wally Donald, the back pocket and vice-captain there. Ralph Lane's in there once more, and it was a hard-fought game just the same, Lou. There goes Doug Reynolds once more. This is a nice piece of football. You'll see him take a handball back here, and eventually the ball bounces back into his arms, and he puts it through on his left boot. We could do anything in the last quarter.
Well, you could, because when everything's going your way, let's say luck, and you've got your confidence up, it's very hard to throw. But it was certainly a great win for Footscray, and you must have celebrated pretty well that night, Charlie.
Well, call me Ted. We had a big reception out of the Footscray Town Hall. Johnny Kerr, a great player in that grand final.
Best player on the ground that day.
No doubt about that. And there goes Brian Gilmore once more. Yes, we had a big mirror reception at the Town Hall, and back to the rooms. Hector Lacey, the late Hector Lacey, told all the Footscray supporters to bring their own glass. There must have been 25,000 there. There was no grog.
Well, I can recall in those days the crowd running onto the ground, and mainly Footscray supporters. I think that Footscray in that particular year had 11,000 members, but a great win to Footscray, 1954, the first premiership for that club, and as I mentioned before, the first of the new association clubs to win a VFL flag. A great effort. And congratulations. We wish we could turn the clock back.
And we're very proud of it still.
CG now of the 82 grand final, 81 to 64 in favour of Carlton. They kicked 5-4 to 6 behind in that term. Knocked away by Mark Lee from the centre bounce. Up it comes to Waitman. Bounce doesn't favour Harms. Dool, well tackled by Bartlett. Back to Waitman. Fumbles. Scooped out. Taken by Roach. A long shot. Yes! In the goal square. Has he marked? Bartlett snaps for goal in the meantime. It's a goal. That's just what they wanted to start the final term. 3 goals to Kevin Bartlett, and they couldn't have really wished for a better opening to the final stanza of play. 11-15, 81 to 10-10, 70.
Well, it did work out as Richmond probably hoped anyway, but I was very surprised, and we watch again on replay. For mine, it was a mark to Jimmy Jess, and we'll see again now. And I know that if I'd brought one down like that, I'd expect to be paid a mark.